Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transform with Neha. We have a special guest here today, the beautiful Mrs. Singh. She is the mother of the late Arjun Veer Singh, who lost his life fighting to blood cancer. And she is the founder of the Arjun Veer Foundation, an international stem cell registry. And she is a prime example of someone who's taken her grief and loss and channeled it into a deeper purpose. So, Simi, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you, Neha. I have to really thank you and be grateful to you for giving us platforms like this to be able to spread awareness about our cause, a cause which very few people know about. And I think in India, especially, there is absolutely no awareness at all, or next to no awareness. One can save thousands of lives, not only in the country, but worldwide, if people were more open to just becoming stem cell donors and understanding how easy it is to be a stem cell donor.
You spoke about awareness. And one of my previous guests had beautifully said to me that, Neha, you only become more aware when it happens to you. So this particular cause is very personal to you as well.
Yeah, Neha, absolutely. Awareness really only comes when something hits you yourself. And we had never, before Arjun fell sick or was diagnosed with blood cancer, had never heard of a stem cell transplant or a bone marrow transplant. And, these terms were absolutely alien to us. But to tell you what happened was that Arjun was 24, and in 2010, December of 2010, he was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And the diagnosis and the prognosis, the doctors all told us were not great. So what happened, the doctors told us was that on one hand, his body is at its peak and it's growing. And because of that, the bad cells or the cancer cells are also growing just as rapidly. So trying to capture those cancer cells and get them under control is going to be just as difficult. So yes, the prognosis were not great. And the ultimate treatment that they told us was after he's been through all his chemotherapies and his radiation therapies will be a stem cell transplant. And what is a stem cell transplant was a complete alien concept to us. And they said the first person who needed to be tested for the stem cell match was, of course, his younger brother. He only had one sibling. So the younger brother was tested. And unfortunately, the sad thing is that siblings don't necessarily have to match. And that was, something that really hit us hard. And now, how do you go about finding a stem cell in the whole wide world? There were no facilities in this country. And this is something that impacted Arjun a lot. You can imagine a hearty 24, 25-year-old, very aware person trying to figure out where he can find a match from, and not and save his own life. So he was very aware of this, and he was very much a part of it, and reading about it, trying to figure out which were the registries worldwide we could contact and how one could go about it. But I have to say that Arjun was one of those kind of people who was spiritually a very, very advanced person. I mean, nobody could believe that at 24 he could be as calm and as uh, accepting of what was going on in his life. And he was a very positive person, and he had the ability to and just engulf people into his life. So whether it was the nurses in the hospital, the doctors in the hospital, the cleaning staff in the hospital, anybody, they were all his friends. And, it used to be amazing because in the evenings he would set up his PlayStation and he would be playing games, and the doctors after their rounds would come and sit with him and chat with him and try and understand what the games were all about. Any doctor, any nurse, anybody had a problem with their computer, they would all come to his room and say, Arjun, please, ये हमारे लिए कर दो, हमें नहीं समझ आ रहा, मेरा कंप्यूटर को ये हो गया. So, he just had this ability to have people around him. He just attracted people around him. And his concern was not just finding a stem cell match for himself. He was really, really concerned as how, the people from the lower middle class or poorer people, how could they even get through a treatment, and what would be their plight. He never believed that he was not going to get okay. So he always said, he said, Mom, when I get well, I am going to set up a registry which has to help people in this country to find matches. It's not possible that you can't have a facility like this. So really, he sowed the seed for the Arjunveer Foundation himself. It took me a few years after we lost him in October of 2012 to start up, because I was so emotionally drained and washed out. But both my husband and I had decided that it's something we have to do for him.
I must share with the TWN family, that's the Transform with Neha family, that the day that we are recording this video is the day of Arjun's birthday, the 6th of September. So I think it makes this conversation even more special because of association of this wonderful day. So Arjun, if he's watching this, if he's around somewhere, I'm sure he's probably so happy that you're doing this to take that legacy and take that dream forward. Because Simi, the numbers are shocking. Because we live in a country of over 1.3 billion people, and we've got how many deaths in a year? Over 40,000 deaths per year due to blood cancer or blood disorders. And the total number of donors we have are less than 5 lakhs, when actually more than 60% of those cases can be saved. So what you're doing is truly saving lives. Now let's move on to the Arjunveer Foundation. What is the vision of this foundation? And what are the steps that you have taken to walk towards that vision?
The main crux of the Arjunveer Foundation, of course, is to have a large enough database. So here I'll just explain very briefly when I say database. The stem cell transplant takes place, or a stem cell donation, not a transplant, rather a donation takes place in 2 stages. So the first stage, of course, is where we have to make people aware that here is a cause which you can be a donor for, and it's a very simple procedure of being a donor. So we give them all the awareness about becoming a stem cell donor, and they have to just fill up a form, just register that, yes, I'm ready to be a voluntary stem cell donor. And we take a swab from the mouth, and that swab is then sent for HLA typing. Now, you'll be surprised to hear that till about 2 years ago, no HLA typing was being done in India. HLA typing is a part of our DNA. Now, when we take the swab from the mouth, what we do is collect a small part of the soft tissue from your inner cheek. It's called the human leukocyte antigen, and we are looking to see the match for a stem cell donor through a HLA type. Now, this HLA typing is all done either in the US or Germany. So all our swabs and samples go there, and it costs us a lot of money to get this test done. These tests are then put on a World Marrow Donors Registry. There is an organization which is a worldwide recognized organization, and anybody who has become a voluntary stem cell donor anywhere in the world, his HLA typing is available on this World Marrow Donors Registry. So all transplant centers where a patient is being taken care of and needs a stem cell transplant has to find a match through the World Marrow Donors Registry. So the second step only happens when you, as a voluntary donor, are found to be a match to a patient. The patient could be anywhere in the world. And your stem cells will at that point of time be extracted and sent to the patient by the registry. So that's our role as a registry. The actual process of donation involves a little bit of medical testing, etc., because we don't want to pass on any infections to the patient. The patient is already suffering enough. The actual process is only as simple as a platelet donation, where we will draw blood from you, and from the blood, we will remove this extra stem cells and give back the rest of your blood to you. We're not going to take your blood away from you.
So, what are some of these big myths that you've encountered, as you've engaged with different people who've inquired about how to be a stem cell donor?
Yeah. So, when it is actually the stem cells do reside in our bones. They are they are a very special kind of cells which actually together form the bone marrow. So that is why in the old days it was called a bone marrow transplant, and the bone marrow used to be extracted from the bones in the old days. Science and technology has advanced so much, and today the stem cells are actually they have figured out how we can send the stem cells from our bone marrow into the peripheral blood and remove only the stem cells, not even take your blood from you. So that's how much it has advanced in the last 30 years. And today, that is why we prefer, and we always say it's a stem cell transplant and not a bone marrow transplant.
And what
so there is no drilling of holes into your bones or no incisions involved. It's just one day spent in the hospital to get your stem cells out. Now, how do we extract these stem cells from the blood? Because they actually reside in our bone marrow. So what happens is that when the donor is found to be a match to a patient, at that point of time, we give the donor a growth therapy for 5 days. And that growth therapy is a small injection. It's like an insulin injection, really tiny needle. And it's given in the subcutaneous muscle. It's not it's not a painful injection at all.
English, please. Sub what?
In the muscle. It's just given in the muscle like you would get any injection in your arm. Yeah, just here in your arm or on your thigh like you would get. But it's a totally painless injection. It's like an insulin injection, right? And what this does is this starts multiplying the stem cells in your body, in your bones. Now, the bones only have restricted space, so the stem cells are pushed out into your bloodstream. So after 5 days, now research has shown that there should be enough stem cell roaming around in our peripheral blood to extract it. That is why we say it's as simple as a platelet donation or a blood donation, just a little longer process.
So if you could, spend a little bit of time talking about the side effects, because for a donor,
Yeah. 30 plus years of research has shown that a donor has not had any long-term side effects. There have been no issues that have turned up or come up for a donor in the long term. Short term would be, yes, people do have a fear for getting an injection. So some people are always worried about that. But when we are producing stem cells, extra stem cells in your bone marrow, and there is not enough space for those stem cells, so something unnatural is happening in your body. So when the body is adapting to this whole process, people do feel maybe a side effect of a body breaking kind of feeling, or some people might get a very mild fever, and the maximum that a doctor will give you is a crocin. That's all. So by the 5th day, when we actually remove the stem cells, immediately the people start feeling better and all these symptoms of body breaking go away. So I know people will feel that I would always propagate this because I'm working in this field. But the kind of pain is so minimal to the kind of rewards you are going to get by say, can you imagine the reward and the feeling that you would get that I was able to save somebody's life within my own lifespan? That reward is, there are no words to describe that.
Yes.
And the beauty of this whole thing is that at the end of 1 year, once your patient is well, the registries like ours, we organize a patient donor meet. And that's when the donor and the patient can meet. And you can imagine how beautiful that is, because they are actually DNA brothers now, or sisters, or
What is really a barrier to donors from actually coming forward and being a part of such a wonderful cause?
the single most important reason I would say is complete lack of awareness. Unfortunately, our governments are still struggling with primary health. So, they feel that laying focus or giving attention to something like this is not yet on their list of priorities at all. We have to be independent private registries, doing everything on our own. So that is a bit of a hindrance, because people start feeling also that, are they really working, or are they just doing it to collect money or to do this? Though we never ask for money, the donor is a completely voluntary donor. There is no expense for him through the whole process. And anybody who wants to do promote the cause or help us, if they want to make a donation, it's a totally on a different scale. It's nothing to do with the voluntary donor, and no support is coming from any government or any organization in India. The second reason is that there is no testing that happens in India. Till 2 years ago, there was not a single lab in India who was doing HLA typing testing in the country. So we are sending all the samples either to the US or to Germany, wherever we can, get support from them. That's a huge task, to be sending each sample overseas, getting them to test it, the costs involved. Yeah, we are begging, borrowing, short of stealing, and trying to move ahead and work towards it. So that these are the reasons why there is so little happening in India on this front.
Have you ever been a donor?
Yes, of course. I have not donated my stem cells, unfortunately. No, I am not a match to anybody yet. I keep praying. I have another 2 years to be on the registry, because you can only be on the registry till the age of 60. And I keep praying that I hope I get a chance before I'm taken off the registry. Looking at donors between the age group of 18 and 50. We're looking at the most healthy age group, because we don't want people with underlying medical conditions, like diabetes or heart conditions, or, these kind of things to become donors. A person who's once registered to become a donor will stay on the World Marrow Donors Registry till the age of 60. At 60, you're automatically removed from the registry. So health is one big factor that we're looking at this age group. And the second factor is that when we are paying so much money for all the testing, we definitely want the donor to be on the registry for at least 10 years before he's taken off. So like I had mentioned, that finding a match within the family is only a 25% chance. So 75% people have to look for a match outside the family. Now, finding a match with today's kind of number of donors we have in the world, is 1 in a million. I'm talking about the Indian population. And we have less than 500,000 registered donors in the country. So people, when they hear that it's 1 in a million, they say, फिर what is the use, इसका तो कोई फायदा ही नहीं है, 1 million में से एक को मिल जाता है मैच. But what they don't realize is that unless we have a very healthy, robust registry, we are not going to improve that ratio.
Correct.
So once we have a robust registry in the country and we have millions of donors on our registry, that ratio of 1 in a million will keep improving. And here we only talked about cancer patients because Arjun was a cancer patient, but there are 70 other types of blood disorders which can be cured with a stem cell transplant, including thalassemia, which is a huge problem in India right now. And we have close to 500,000 thalassemic children in the country. And these thalassemia children have to get a blood transfusion every 2 to 3 weeks. And because of those blood transfusions, they get so many other conditions develop in them, and their lifespans are shortened like you cannot imagine. I mean, so there's just so much work to be done in this field.
Yes, and I think we are all reached that stage right now where we don't want to feel powerless. We don't want to feel helpless. If you can't help a certain situation in a certain area of your life, that doesn't mean that you can't be of value and feel empowered in another aspect of your life. And what you are doing here with the Arjun Veer Foundation is enabling people to feel that sense of empowerment, to be able to make a difference, to be able to contribute. And for that, hats off, Mama. Hats
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you so much.
You said some
And
very, very important things here today, Simi. But now, before you leave us, in a special section that I've created, inspired by you actually and the cause that you stand for, it's called Me and You. So, in the section of Me and You, if you can speak directly to, every one of the TWN family and the tribe who's tuning in and watching this show, what would you like to tell them?
hello to everybody at the TWN family. And I feel so much a part of this tribe or family now. And I have a small message and a small story to tell about my personal. I have told you my personal life story, but it's an experience which left a very deep impact on me, and I thought it was going to be. It is the motto or the philosophy behind the Arjun Veer Foundation. And this is a few years ago when we were in the US. We were visiting the redwood forests, which are north of California, and they're the most spectacular forests one can come across. And the trees there grow up to a height of about 100 meters. I mean, can you imagine 300 feet tall trees growing in this forest? And some of them are over 1500 years old, some 1500 to 2000 year old trees that exist there. And the naturalist who was showing us around and giving us information about the forest, and I asked him, I said, California, this part of California has so many, you have high wind velocities on the coast, you have so many earthquakes in this part of the country. How is it that these trees are surviving? They must be having really deep roots. And he smiled and he said, ma'am, it's interesting, but these trees actually don't have deep roots at all. I said, how do they manage then? I mean, so many earthquakes, so many, storms. And so he says the interesting thing about these roots are that they spread outwards and they get entangled with each other. They hold on to each other and they form such a strong foundation. And that really struck me. And I said, that's what our society, the human society, is meant to be. We are supposed to hold each other's hands, and that should be the foundation of our society. And unfortunately, we get so carried away with all these petty day-to-day issues. And so this story, sort of this experience, just left such a large impact on me. And I felt that this was something that the Arjun Veer Foundation definitely wants to work on, is holding hands for each other when people need you and to be there for them. So at the end of it, I would like to say to all of you that yes, please be aware, be the change, be somebody's hero, and be someone's DNA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simi. So if you want to be a part of this initiative, the deeds are flashing on your screen. All you need to do is really reach out, connect, and then we can take things from there. So let's really, as Simi just said, I'm going to reiterate, let's flip the narrative. Let's not be casualties of the system. Let's be contributors. Let's be someone's DNA. So thank you everyone for joining us. Please do subscribe to this channel if you like the kind of content we're sharing with you. And if you think someone is going to benefit from this, it's going to add value to someone else's life, or you feel someone else can also be a donor and be a part of this wonderful initiative, please, we would love it if you could, share this video with them and take and help us spread the word to as many people as possible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Simi.